Welcome students to IQRA. I am Dr. Mohammed Zia and I welcome you to this test discussion of test 1 economy. Paper was quite good. My best wishes to all. So if you have scored well and good, don't be overconfident. Keep working hard on the same pace, and if not, then also keep working hard. So without wasting much time, let us begin with question number 1. So question number 1, that is, consider the following statements with respect to final goods. Now this is important here. Statement 1, they cannot undergo any transformation by hands of a producer or a consumer. Second, the process of making a final good always involve economic activity. So this is also important. See, in attempting these type of questions, my first advice to you is that do take care of this part. Because sometimes what happens, there's a general perception that the examiner would be asking what is true, but sometimes here it is written what is not true. So read very well this part, don't get confused. So the correct answer to this is neither one nor two. Why? Because any item like they cannot go any transformation by hands of a producer or a consumer. This is statement in itself is wrong, because if you see, an item that is meant for final use will not pass through any more stages. So when it is it has been sold or passes out of the economic active flow, it will not undergo any further transformation hands of any producer. So here if it is producer is written, so producer cannot do once it is a final good. Second, it may undergo transformation by the action of ultimate purchaser. So if just consumer would have been written, things would have been different. Thus, most of the items, like this is an example which is given here, and it is not in the nature of the good, but in the economic nature of its use that it becomes a final good. So both the statements are not always. This always is, so what is wrong here? Here it is producer, here it is always. Then moving on to question number 2, again the same type of question. Consider the following statements. Intermediate goods may give a fuller description of the total economic activity. Okay, change in stock can be considered as flow of goods. So again, which of the statement is or are true? So here both are true, because intermediate goods may give, it's not necessary, but it may give a description of the total economic activity. And change in stock, flows are defined over a period of time, and stock are defined as a particular point of time. So if we are measuring change in stock, so obviously change in stock will be in reference to, let's say, from T0 let's say to T1, then this will be, yes, definitely stocks are flows. So this is correct. Question number 3, when the government increases spending by borrowing today, which will be repaid by taxes in the future, it will have some impact on the economy, as an increase in government expenditure that is financed by tax increases today. This refers to what? So this is a very direct question, and this talks about this is referring to the Ricardian equivalence, because it argues that taxation and borrowing are equivalent means of financing expenditure. So whenever like we have the revenue part and we have the expenditure part, so this expenditure can be fulfilled either by taxation. So first we will put our revenues, and if not, then we will borrow, the government will borrow. When it increases it's spending by borrowing today, which will be repaid by the taxes in the future, it will have the same impact on economy if taxes are increased today. So it's the same thing, it's equivalence. Then moving on to question number 4, investment. Consider the following statements. Investment in economics implies using money to buy physical or financial assets. Total output of final goods and services produced in an economy in an year has only two parts, the consumer goods and the services. Which of them are true? None. Because investment, in general, what we use investment is, we are buying some assets, we are increasing our assets. So the term investment to denote purchase of share or property or even having an insurance policy has nothing to do with what we call as investment, because we always, when we say investment, means we are talking about capital formation technically. means there should be a net addition to the capital stock. And total output of final goods and produced in an economy, the output of consumer goods and services and of capital goods. So here, this is not the limitation, and here these are not the limitations. You have to add capital goods to them also. So neither one nor two. The question is with respect to the statement is with respect to depreciation. Depreciation does not take into account unexpected or sudden destruction or disuse of capital as can happen with accidents, natural calamities, or such other external circumstances. Depreciation is a real concept and not just accounting concept. So first statement is correct because depreciation is an accounting concept, and it is not necessary that every year some expenditure on depreciation has been made, and it not does it to take account the unexpected or sudden destruction, rather the wear and the tear losses. This is what we call depreciation. The term wage good, so from the very word it is referred that it is something which is the goods that are consumed first business class, second option B, that says capital goods are used for income generation consumed by salaried class. Definitely this is not the business class. Export based goods, so we can do this by elimination also, and the correct is C, which is salary. So the nearest term to wage here is salary. So you can do, it is not necessary that every time you must know the answer of the question to the very, the last point. Sometimes you also have to, go for elimination technique. So this is a very straightforward question in that case. Okay, consider the following statements. The value added of a firm is the value of production of the firm, value of intermediate goods used by the firm, minus this is, and inventories are treated as capital. Which of them are true? So both. Means because the value added of the firm is value addition minus the value of intermediate goods, because that is not value addition done by that particular firm. And inventories, are treated as capital, means because there is an addition of stock of capital from firm is known as investment. So inventories means the stock that you are having, so that is always treated as capital. Question number 8 is on Angel's elasticity in economies. It is related to demand and supply, inferior good, consumer behavior, foreign exchange. Very direct question. It is the Angel's elasticity is always used for consumer behavior. So not going into how it is calculated, but in general, the as the income level rises, the expenditure on food increases will not increase with the same proportion. So this is Angel's elasticity. Classical economic thought, as per question number 9, as per classical economic thought, you have to take this assertion and reason. So market, even if left free, always require government intervention. Reason, buyers and sellers acting in their self-interest fail to coordinate with each other. So whenever do such kind of assertion reason questions, always remember you should just make this one statement and just add this here, because so if you add it like this, so and you read it in such a manner that market, even if left free, always require government intervention because buyers and sellers acting in their self-interest fail to coordinate with each other. Now this gives you a sense whether they are they're making some sense together or not, and through this you can create your go for your answer. In this case, classical economist, so this has to be with reference to the classical economist. And if you will see the assumptions taken by the classical economists, that they have always talked about laissez-faire, which says that there should be no intervention, which talks about free market. This particular thought is largely refers to the Keynesian economics, not the classical economists. Second part, buyers and sellers acting in their self-interest fail to coordinate with each other. And these classical economists have always rejected such kind of idea, as market function best without the government interference. And here, the market is actually in equilibrium because of equilibrium of demand and supply. So obviously demand and supply here refer to buyers and sellers. So this is also incorrect. Question number 10. According to Ricardian ideas, a landowner should have a claim only to half of the produce of agricultural land, average rent, C, taxable part of the produce, and the produce voluntarily given by the cultivators. Correct answer to this is B, that should always have a claim only to the average rent that prevail at that given time. So when in India, you should know this, when British officials derived land revenue policies, and at that point of time, their ideas and thoughts were deeply influenced by David Ricardo. And 1820, Ricardo was obviously like a pioneer economist in England at that point of time. And he gave up this idea that when the land yield is more than his average rent, a landowner had a surplus that the state needed to tax. If not levied, cultivators are likely to turn into rentiers. So this was his idea. So here correct answer is B. Question number 11. In the product method of GVA or the GVA, the GDP is calculated by adding the GVA of all firms of the economy. Which of the following is used to find the gross value added of a firm? Sales, change in inventory, value of intermediate good used. So correct answer to this is D. That is all of the above. All of these three parameters are used to find the GV of a firm. So this is how it is calculated. Question number 12, and the question is on GDP deflator. First, it is the ratio of GDP measured at current prices to the constant prices. It automatically refers to the changes in consumption pattern and structural transformation in the economy. Which of them is or are true? It's just both of them are true, because real GDP is calculated in a way such that so whenever we are talking about GDP deflator, means we are using a you know we are actually removing the effect of inflation. And here real GDP is calculated in a way such that the goods and services are evaluated at some constant set of prices, what we call as the constant prices. Since these prices remain fixed, the real GDP changes. We can show that it is the volume of production which is undergoing changes. On the other hand, nominal GDP just gives the value of the at current prices. So in calculation of real and nominal GDP of current year, the volume of production is fixed, and that is what we call as GDP deflator. So the difference of how your nominal GDP is adjusted to real GDP, we call that for current year. So that is what we call as GDP deflator. Question number 13. Again, which of the following can lead to an increase in the aggregate demand? Aggregate demand is equal to C is equal to aggregate demand is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So whatever will national income, government spending, investment. Three parameters are used and all of the above. So if national income increases, aggregate demand increases. Government is spending, aggregate demand, investment. So we have, what is this? This is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So your consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, government expenditure, export and import. This is what your aggregate demand is in an economy. Question number 14. Pareto optimality refers to a situation where A, resources are allocated in a way in which it is impossible to make any one individual better off without making at least one individual worse off. Resources are allocated in the most socially desirable way. Resources are allocated as per domestic means based on the principles of equality and fairness. D, all of the above apply. So here correct answer is A, because resources are, this is what Pareto optimality refers to, that if resources are allocated in such a way where it is impossible, resources cannot be reallocated to make one individual better off without making at least one individual worse off. So this is an efficiency, also known as Pareto efficiency. Moving on, question number 15. Efficient allocation of resources in economy is only possible when every resource in the economy is employed, and second, resources go to those who need them most. Select the correct answer using the code given below. Which of them are correct? Okay, so A, no, actually both are wrong, because when we talk about efficient allocation of resources, it in general refers to when goods and services are distributed in accordance to consumer preference or need of corporations, not on it's not on the someone's need, rather it's on preferences and just consumer preferences, or so exact statement is not correct in both the cases. Question number 16. Consider the following statements. CPI, Consumer Price Index, takes into account all goods and services produced in the country. GDP deflator does not include the price of the imported goods. Again, which of the statements are true? So here, the first statement, that CPI takes into account all goods and services produced in the country, no. This is correct. Where because when we are talking about GDP deflator, we are taking only those, obviously from GDP, all the goods and services produced in the country. So obviously imported goods are not produced in the country, so deflator will not take an account of that. So here correct answer is B. Yes. See, CPI, which may differ from GDP deflator because the goods purchased by the consumer do not represent all the goods which are produced in a country. Second, GDP deflator takes into account all such goods and services which are produced in the country. CPI is a representative, it is a set of, it is a basket of goods, and its price, on based on that price, CPI is calculated. So GDP deflator here is not including the imported prices of the imported goods. Question number 17. Which of the following may lead to an increase in the personal income in an economy? Increase in national income, increase in undistributed profit, increase in corporate taxes. So yes, if we see, by just this, increase in national income will increase your personal income. Undistributed profits, so if profits are not distributed, how it will reflect in personal income? So no. Increase in corporate taxes, obviously when taxes will be more, income will be, obviously a share of personal income will be reduced. So here I think only one is correct. Yes. So what is personal income? National income minus undistributed profit minus net interest payment made by the household minus corporate taxes plus transfer payments to the households from the government in form. So this you can remember. Question number 18. Which of the axis of total government spending above national income is known as primary deficit, inflationary gap, fiscal deficit, or none of the above? So these two are the deficits. It is somewhat which is related to the revenue and expenditure. This is what inflationary gap. So the total spending above national income is known as inflationary gap. Question number 19. Basic price instead of factor cost is the main feature of change methodology of GDP. Consider the following statement in this regard. Basic price is the price receivable by the producer from the consumer. Basic price is the sum is minus tax payable and any subsidy receivable. Which of the statements are true? Here I think this is true, that basic price is the part receivable by the producer. So this is what and this is basic price is sum is minus. No, this is wrong. Only one is correct. So basic price is producer as output minus any tax. So statement is incorrect, and subsidy receivable, second part, is incorrect. One of the problems in calculating national income in India is low spending, poverty, low non-monetized consumption, low savings. So the biggest problem here in our country is this one, your option C, non-monetized consumption. There's a long list of this non-monetized consumption. Moving on, question number 21, green shoots. An economy refers to signs of growth of agriculture sector in a growing economy, sign of economic recovery during an economic downturn, signs of growth of service sector in declining economy, signs of environment improving. So here, in general, whenever the word green comes, we always refer to environment or climate change or something like that. But here it is not the case. It has nothing to do with agriculture or environment. It is just simply the economic recovery during an economic downturn. So when first signs of recovery appear, we call that green shoots. Okay, this is the explanation to this. So first signs of improvement, that are green shoots. Question number 22, the legal tender. Quite famous after 16th December. So which of the following statements are about legal tender in India? Number one, it is a medium of payment recognized by law. It has its own intrinsic value. Legal tenders are issued only by the Reserve Bank of India only. So which of the statements are true? So first of all, yes, it is a medium of payment. That's true. It has its own intrinsic value. No, Once that legal tender value is removed, they loses its value. What happened in demonetization basically. So it does not have an intrinsic value of its own, like we have in the case of gold and silver. Legal tenders are issued only by Reserve Bank of India. No, Government of India also issues that. So both government and actually legal tender are issued by government. So if on a currency note, uh, you know, legal tenders here. So currency, RBI issues currency notes, whereas coins are issued by the central government. So both are there. Question number 23. Consider the following statements about annual transactions in an economy. Number one, it includes transaction in all intermediate goods and services. Second, it is clearly much greater than nominal GDP. So here, prima facie, both the statements are correct. So annual transaction is in all intermediate goods and services. It is much greater than nominal GDP. Why? Because the primary motive for holding money is to carry out transaction, and therefore transaction demand for money in an economy can be written in this form, where T is the total. So this T is the total value of transactions, and K is the positive fraction. So it's just simply greater than, first of all transactions are included, and second, it is greater than nominal GDP. Question number 24. Consider the following statements with reference to demand for money. Transaction demand for money is directly proportional to real GDP and price level. Speculative demand for money is inversely related to market rate of interest. So if I go by the theory given by Keynes, and he says that there are three motives of, when we talk about demand for money, there is like transaction demand, speculative demand, and what we call as contingency demand, or emergency, or what we call as precautionary. The term exactly used was the precautionary demand for money. So transaction demand for money is directly proportional to real GDP and price level. Yes, as price level increase, you will be needing more money for transaction. Speculative demand for money is inversely related to market rate of interest. Yes, if you are getting better market rate of interest, definitely you will save your money and earn the interest rather than investing it for the speculative purposes. So this is, both the statements are correct. Question number 25. Real interest rate will not be lower than nominal interest rates in which of the following cases? Okay. A. GNP is higher than GDP. B. A general decline in prices observed across the economy. C. Sudden increase in the receipts of foreign remittances. D. Banks set up interest rates at the event of a macroeconomic shock. So what does the question is asking? Real interest rate will not be lower than nominal interest rate. Okay. So GNP is higher than GDP. So this may not be the case. A general decline in prices observed across the economy. Yes, here it may happen. So a sudden increase, nahi. Banks are nahi. So here, this is possible here. And so correct answer to this is B. So the nominal rate of interest, what it is the simplest type of interest. Let's say on a loan, it is 10%. So if borrowers expect to pay 10 of every 100 rupees loan returned to them, it does not take inflation into account. So real interest rate is the rate that does take inflation into account. So what they are saying, a real interest rate will not be lower than nominal interest rate, because the only case is when there is a general decline. So wherever this nominal word comes, it means N for nominal, N for not adjusted to inflation. Consider the following statements about liquidity trap. Number one, a liquidity trap is a contradictory economic situation in which interest rates are very low and saving rates are high. The term was coined by Adam Smith. I don't think so. Increase in the money supply in an economy can help it to come out of the liquidity trap. This is, I think, the word here should be contractionary. So it's a kind of economic situation where interest rates are very low and savings are very high. So yes, this is the case, I think. Let's see what's the correct answer to this is yes. It is a contradictory economic situation in which interest rates are very low and saving rates are high, rendering monetary policy ineffective. So this was first used by Keynes, so not a classical concept, it's a Keynesian concept. While liquidity trap is a function of economic condition, it is also in psychological, since consumers are making choice to hold cash. So generally it happens when we talk about when more cash is being hoarded basically in the economy. High-powered money in an economy. Question number 27. Interbank deposits which a commercial bank holds in other commercial bank. No. Deposits held by Government of India in the commercial bank. No. Yes, it is a part of that, not exactly. Yes. Only the currency in circulation in the public world plus uh, cash of uh, vault cash of the commercial bank. So I think both B and C. Yes. So must have read about M0, M1, M2, M3. So the total liability uh, of the monetary authority of the country, RBI, is called monetary base or high-powered money. It consists of currency notes, that is notes in circulation with public and vault in cash of commercial banks and deposit held by Government of India and commercial banks with RBI. So it is the high-powered money, M0. Question number 28. Consider the following statements about reserve deposit ratio. Number one, reserve deposit ratio is the proportion of total deposits of commercial bank kept as reserves. Bank rate is used to control the value of reserve deposit ratio. Which of the following statements are true? So a reserve deposit ratio is the proportion of the total deposits of the commercial banks kept as reserve. So you can refer to as cash reserve ratio. Bank rate is used to control the value of reserve deposit ratio. Yes, through bank rate also this can be controlled. It's true. So the bank rate is there to control the volume of reserve deposit ratio. Question number 29 is on CDR, that is currency deposit ratio. It reflects people's preference for liquidity. Second, it increases during the festive season. No, this both are incorrect. Yes, it is the ratio of money held by the public in the currency to the that they hold in bank deposits. So it is a ratio to that. And obviously in festive season, CDR will increase because as soon as people will convert their deposit into cash balance. So especially in the let's say Diwali time or something where there is more demand for money, transaction demand for money. So obviously people will be holding more cash or more money in hand and rather than keeping it in bank. So 29 is D. 30. Country's money multiplier depends on which of these factors? Fraction of cash held by individual and businesses. Yes. Fraction of cash banks hold as reserve. Yes, both are correct. Okay. Moving on to question number 31. It provides why question number 31. Why is the Reserve Bank of India is known as lender of last resort? It provides lending facility to bank all the time. Okay. It provides foreign exchange to the government for meeting its import obligation. No. When we are talking about lender of last resort, it is referring to bankers bank, means it provides this facility to all banks at all time. So here correct answer is A. It and it did not provide, this is wrong. It manages the foreign exchange for the of the country. Question number 32. Which of the following statements about quantitative methods of credit control by RBI? So it aim at controlling the cost and the quantity of credit. They do not discriminate between different sectors of economy. They can be applicable to the entire economy or a part of it. No, this is incorrect. They are applicable. So whatever they are doing, they are applicable to all these sectors, all the whole economy. And yes, it aim at controlling cost and quantity of credit, and they are applicable at whole economy. Consider the following statements regarding SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. It is mandatory for all scheduled commercial banks. Yes. SLR securities can be pledged for raising funds through open market operation. No. Non-maintenance of SLR attracts a penal rate for of interest upon bank. Yes. So I think this is correct. Yes. They cannot pledge this SLR securities when we talk about open market operation. They can only do this under LAF through what we call as MSF, that is marginal standing facility. So correct answer here is C. Question number 34. Consider the following statements about MSF. Oh, we took the name and it's here. It's a loan amount for 14 days. No, it's just for one night. A maximum amount of loan of 2% of net time and demand liabilities. No, it is I think 1%. The interest rate is 1% higher than repo rate. Yes. So MSF is a type of loan given by RBI to the banks who have current and subsidiary general ledger accounts with RBI. the loan is given only for one night. So this has been a very contingency and emergency situation is taken. The maximum amount of loan is 1%, and it will be minimum 1 crore and multiples of 1 crore. So consider the following statements about market stabilization scheme by RBI. It is a pure monetary instrument. No. The interest rate is paid by Reserve Bank of India. No. It refers to this market stabilization scheme. So correct answer is D. Why? It is a scheme. It is fiscal come monetary. So it is not completely fiscal monetary. It is fiscal and monetary both. It is a facility to control excess liquidity due to excess foreign exchange flow in the country. RBI issues government security to absorb excess liquidity, and here interest is paid by finance ministry, or you can just write government of India. That is also correct. Moving on to question number 36. Which of the following statements best describes the term Triffin dilemma? It refers to the dilemma of setting the right monetary policy rates so as to balance between twin objectives of price stability and growth. No. It refers to the dilemma of having GDP growth as well as human development. No. It refers to the impossibility of having fixed foreign exchange rate, free capital movement, and an independent monetary policy at the same time. No. Let's see. Obviously, I have eliminated all, but let's see what this Triffin dilemma is. It refers to the conflict of interest, economic interest, that arises between short-term domestic and long-term international objective of for a country whose currencies serve as global reserve currencies. So sometimes this happens, especially in economies like America or European Union, where their currencies are used as global reserve currencies. So they have a dilemma between short-term domestic and long-term international objective. Question number 37. In India, monetary policy is designed with an objective to control inflation. Yes. Increase foreign exchange reserve. No. Reduce fiscal deficit. No. Generate surplus factor. No. Correct answer here is only A. Question number 38. What are the benefits the benefits of check truncation system introduced by RBI? A physical check is not required to be issued by the account holder for the payment purposes, leading to improvement in logistical management. Account holder, take care of this word. The system reduces the scope of loss of check instruments in transit from bank to bank, resulting in better services. So this is correct. If you'll see the explanation to this, it is a process, of stopping the flow of physical check issued by the drawer at some point by presenting bank and route to paying branch. So I have, let's say, of bank A, I have a check of bank A, I have deposited in bank B. So what will happen from here? It will go to bank A. In general, what has used to happen earlier, and they used to verify, then came back in. So this was the process. In its place, electronic image of the check is transmitted to the paying branch, the clearing house. So it is nothing. The physical check has to be produced by account holder. That's why I told you, take good care of this word. So correct answer here is B. Which of the following statements, question number 39, which of the following statements are requirements for scheduled banks? The bank should be listed in the first schedule of RBI. No, this is second schedule. The paid up capital is collected funds, and collected funds should not be less than 5 lakhs. If you are talking about scheduled banks, yes, it's true. So this is the correct option B. Okay, it should be listed in the second. Fine. Question number 40. Consider the following statements. Call money market is for borrowing and lending of funds between banks up to 14 days. No. Short notice market is for borrowing and lending the funds between bank within 1 day. No. Yes. Short notice market is actually, they have exchanged this. So call money market is this, short notice market is this. So there is an interchange. Both are incorrect. Then consider the following statements about treasury bills. They are securities issued by government treasury. Yes. They are also known as zero coupon bonds. Yes. They offer a fixed interest rate or free from very market risk. No. Yes, only 1 and 2 are correct. Why? Because they are issued by the government and they are always issued at a discounted rate. And if we talk about rate of interest, there is no rate of interest involved in case of these treasury bills. Okay, question number 42. Which among the following is incorrect? The government securities with long-term maturity are called dated government securities. Yes. Commercial papers are issued by AIFIs. Yes. The certificate of deposit are issued by government to raise funds. No. All of the above. So this certificate of deposit are raised by commercial banks, not by government. Okay. So that was the incorrect part. Question number 43, and the question is on consumer price index. So it computes price changes in both goods and services. Yes. It is computed by Office of Economic Affairs. No. It is computed CSO. Okay. It has taken as a measure of it is taken as a measure of inflation while formulating monetary policy. Yes. So 1 and 3 are correct. This is all about your CPI, that is Consumer Price Index. Question number 44 is with reference to RRBs. Consider the following statements. They are not commercial banks. Yes, they are not commercial banks. Their operation must be restricted to rural areas. Yes, obviously when rural word is there. So these banks cannot provide service of credit or debit cards. Yes, they cannot. In some districts, they are nodal agency for disbursement of Manrega wages. No, because this is only done through commercial banks, scheduled commercial banks. Question number 45 is on white label ATMs. What is false? We have to see that. ATMs set up, owned and operated by non-bank entities are called white label ATMs. Yes. So this is not false. This is true. The RBI allowed white label ATM operations to buy wholesale cash from RBI and currency chests. They have allowed them. Yes, obviously, or else how they will run. So this one, both are true. None of them is false. Then question number 46. Which among the below are differences between NBFCs and bank? NBFC cannot accept demand deposit while bank can. Yes, that's true. NBFC cannot issue check. Yes, they cannot issue check. Deposit in NBFC and banks can have cover of bank deposit and credit guarantee corporation. No. So we have to find out true. So these are true. NBFC cannot accept deposit that are payable on demand. Like we have our saving accounts or current accounts. So this is not applicable in case of NBFCs. Then question number 47. What are systematically important banks, DSIBs, are recognized by Reserve Bank of India? These banks are exempted from CRR SLR regulation. No bank is exempted from this when we talk about commercial banks especially. These are perceived as too big to fail banks. Yes. And RBI determines a cutoff score beyond which bank are considered as DSIBs. Yes, it's true. I think 2 and 3. Yeah. So this is about systematically important banks. Moving on to question number 48. Twin balance sheet problem refers to number 1, poor performance of PSUs, non-performing assets in the Indian banks. Yes. Debt accumulation, Indian companies. Yes. Accretion of oil. No. I think this one is correct. Yes, TBS, that is twin balance sheet, is a twofold problem which deals number 1, over leveraged companies and bad loan encumbered banks. That is NP of the bank is 9% for the total banking system of India, and for public sector it is more than 12%. And as the companies fail to pay back principal or interest, the banks are also in trouble. So that is why we call this twin balance sheet problem. So this is an issue of NPA plus debt accumulation. That is why twin balance sheet problem. Question number 49, fringe benefit tax. So tax paid by bogus companies, tax paid by corporates. No, fringe benefits means when there are certain benefits they are offered. What happens? That company also will do this in order to save taxes of their employees. That certain benefits are being given to the employees, so that is not counted in their salary, rather it is counted as a benefit. But later on these things are also taxed. So this is the fringe benefit tax. Next, question number 50. Consider the following statements with respect to taxation in India. Firms are taxed on a proportional basis where the tax rate is particular proportion of profits. Yes. Redistribution objective is sought to be achieved only through progressive income taxation. So redistribution, yes. Which of the following statements is that false? False. None of them is false. So this is your answer. Answer D. Redistribution objective is sought to be achieved through progressive income taxation, in which higher income, higher is the tax. So this is progressive, this is regressive, this is your uniform taxation. So with respect to excise, necessities of life are exempted or taxed at low rates, comforts, and semi-luxuries, which are moderately taxed. So this is basically firms are taxed on proportion basis where the tax rate is a particular proportion of profit. Question number 51. Which of the following is the largest source of non-tax revenue of the government? Interest receipts on accounts of loans, grant and aids? No. Transfer of payment? No. No. Interest receipts on accounts of loans. So this is all about non-tax revenue. Moving on to question number 52. Consider the following statements. Outcome budget is a compilation of anticipated and intended volumes and intended outcomes of various ministries. Zero-based budgeting involves a consideration that budget is to be allotted from the scratch. Which of the following statements are true? I think yes, both are true. Answer to this is C. Question number 53. Mundell-Fleming trilemma includes free flow capital, balanced budget, fixed exchange rate. This is, I think, balanced budget. Yes. This trilemma is often synonymous to the impossible trinity, and when making fundamental decisions about managing international monetary policy, a trilemma suggests that countries have three possible options to choose, and setting a fixed. So, what are these three options? Setting a fixed currency exchange rate and allowing capital to free flow with no fixed currency exchange rate agreement and autonomous monetary policy. So this is capital flows they're talking about, fixed exchange rate they're talking about, monetary policy we're talking about. So this was question number 53. Correct answer to this is B, that is balanced budget. Then question number 54. Capital receipts of the government do not include disinvestment from PSUs. It includes this. Custom duties on imports and exports. Okay. Loan received from international organization, market borrowing of the government from the public. No, I think it's this one. It's a very straightforward question. Custom duties on imports and exports. Moving on to question number 55. Which of the following is incorrect regarding revenue expenditure of Government of India? Expenditures on social services are excluded from this category because they augment the human capital of the country. No. Salaries paid to the government are government employees come under revenue expenditure. Yes, these expenditure usually do not directly involve creation of capital assets. Yes, grants given by the government to the Indian states and foreign countries comes under revenue expenditure. So this is probably incorrect. Let's see. So item falls under yes. That is interest payment by the government on internal and external loan. This is your revenue expenditure, salaries, pension, provident fund. This is subsidies, defense expenditure, postal deficits, law and order expenditure, expenditure on social services. So expenditures on social services are not excluded, rather they are included, and that's so correct answer is A. Question number 56. Consider the following statements with reference to indirect tax. It is the incidence of tax and impact of tax are on different points. Yes, this tax is generally regressive in nature. Generally, yes. So it is why we are saying it is regressive in nature, because irrespective of the purchasing spending capacity or purchasing power of the people, all are uh, you know charged at the same rate and making a regressive tax. So both are correct. Question number 57. Which of the following correctly defines the term crowding out? So crowding out is a theory where uh, we can say that there is a rise in public sector spending which will drive down the private sector spending. So when public sector spending is so much that it is actually crowding out, so there is no much crowd in the spending side. So correct answer to this is B. Moving on to question number 58. Consider the following statements. The proportional income tax acts as an automatic stabilizer, a shock absorber, because it makes disposable income and thus consumer spending less sensitive to fluctuations of GDP. Managed currency is a currency whose exchange rate is regulated by the market. Which of the following statements are true? So first is correct. Yes. And managed currency, which is obviously where nation's government or central bank is intervening, which is managing. So definitely floating exchange rate, we use the term here. So where government or central bank is involved, we call that as managed currency. Proportionate income tax acts as a stabilizer because when GDP rises, personal disposable income also rises by less than the rise in GDP, but a part of it is siphoned off as taxes. This helps in limit the upward fluctuation. So this is true. Question number 59. India's GST Act contains anti-profiteering clause. Which country was the first to incorporate this into its GST Act? So we have this NAPA or NAA, what we call as National Anti-Profiteering Agency, and this was first introduced by Australia in its GST clause. Question number 60. Which of the following statements are true about inverted duty structure? The issue of inverted duty structure arises mainly because of import duty on finished goods is lower than import duty of raw materials. Finished goods, finished products, import duty on raw materials. Yes. It affects competitiveness and sustainability of the domestic manufacturing industry. Basically, it is the reason for that is so both are correct. The only reason of having this is so that you can have this domestic manufacturing industry being competitive and sustainable when we are in this era of globalization and import and export. Import is on of goods is on a higher side. So this is there. Question number 61. So soft currency, hard currency, hot currency, heated currency on one side, and then there are definitions. So soft currency is something which is easily available in its in any economy and in its forex market. Hard currency, so let's say this is one. Hard currency, so strongest currency and has the highest level of liquidity. This is your hard currency. Fine. Hot currency is a hard currency existing in an economy. Heated currency is a currency which is under pressure of depreciation. So I think this is the correct three. So which one is this? 3A. Okay, 3A. 1B. So we have 3A is only at one place. Okay, 1B. This one is correct. So hard currency is the international currency which is highest faith shown in every economy, and soft currency, for example, Indian currency is a soft currency in Indian forex market. Hot currency is the term used for the forex market and is a temporary name for any hard currency. If any hard currency is existing in an economy at a faster pace for the time, the hard currency is said to be hot currency. So it's a type of hard currency. So, and heated, obviously heat is can relate it with the pressure. Moving on to question number 62. Consider the following statements about minimum alternate tax. The MAT is the means through which government makes companies to do not pay tax. ठीक है? When MAT is amount, when the minimum alternate tax amount is less than 10%, it is known as alternate minimum tax. Which of the following statements are true? No, you can take this one is correct. A. When This is basically when companies are showing that their net, just in order to use the loopholes in the tax system, so that um, mm, you know they can avoid taxes, showing zero profits and something like that. So even if companies are having zero profit, you have to pay some tax. That is, uh, mm, you know, uh, what we call as the zero tax companies. So to target them, this MAT was introduced. And when this is introduced on commercial establishment other than companies, so companies means those who are registered under the Companies Act. If done, imposed on anyone else other than those who are registered under the Companies Act, we call that AMT, that is alternate minimum tax. Question number 63. Consider the following statements. Countervailing duties is a type of anti-subsidy duty. Okay. Price dumping means selling goods at a price lower than the cost of production. So obviously this is definitely an anti-subsidy duty. Price dumping means selling goods at a price lower than the cost of production. I think this is correct. What answer key is saying. So foreign countries, okay. Foreign countries they have taken into consideration, so that is also one. But overall, yes, this statement is also correct. So just we'll refer this question once more, and then we will in your evaluation. So keep this for reconsideration. Question number 64. An increase in the public debt through domestic borrowings may lead to which of the following? So when public debt increases through borrowing, inflation will definitely go up. Private borrowers crowded out of the financial markets. Increase in aggregate demand. So obviously when public debt is increased, that will be again put in the, so government expenditure will increase, so this will increase. Private borrowers are crowded out because of the financial market, because everyone is giving it to the government, so all of them are correct. Yes. Question number 65. Which of the following statements correctly defines fiscal deficit? Excess of total expenditure over revenue receipts and non-debt creating capital receipts, borrowing from RBI abroad, as well as net borrowing at home, both A and B, none of the above. Fiscal deficit, it is excess of expenditure over revenue receipts is there, non-debt is there. ठीक है, it's C, both of them. So fiscal deficit is the borrowing difference between between the government's total expenditure and its total receipts excluding borrowing. So this is your total fiscal deficit. And non-debt creating capital receipts are those receipts which are not borrowed, which are not borrowings, and therefore do not give rise to debt. Gross fiscal deficit is net borrowing plus net borrowing at home plus borrowing from RBI plus borrowing from abroad. So this is also there. So both are correct. Question number 66. Which of the following is the best way to finance government's fiscal deficit? Borrowing from RBI, external aid, disinvestment, printing more money. The best is borrowing from abroad, because in that the crowding out effect doesn't occur, and because domestic market is already having limited funds, and if government will take up a large chunk of money from the domestic market, crowding out effect will happen for the uh, domestic borrowers, so private borrowers. So things may go, may not be suitable in that case. So if same money is borrowed from abroad, crowding effect will not occur. And if they are a grant or coming without interest, so obviously always a good way to ignore their, apart from ignoring their inflationary effects, so it is still considered better. Question number 67. In India, deficit financing is usually resorted in order to finance the revenue deficit component, undertake government undertake developmental expenditure, and bridge the short-term current account deficit. No, straightforward. It's a very simple one. Question number 68. Twin deficit refers to fiscal deficit plus current account deficit. There's no if and but in this. So this is what twin deficit is: fiscal deficit plus current account deficit. A tax is buoyant when? So this is a direct question on tax buoyancy. So the tax revenue collection registered a steady annual rise irrespective of economic changes. No, this is what buoyant force is when you apply a force. So means, and when you, like, it's a, let's take a ball, and it's floating, and when you apply a pressure, it will rise with a higher pressure. So this is what buoyancy is. So when tax revenues increases by uh, you know, more than 1% for a 1% increase in GDP. So when increase in GDP is 1% and increase in taxes, or the revenue is more than 1%, we call that the buoyant tax. So this is between changes in GDP and government's tax revenue. Question number 70. Consider the following statements about ICO. This is something which is related to cryptocurrencies, initial coin offerings. So they can be converted into cryptocurrencies. Yes, it is something which is very similar to what we know as IPO, and yes, it can be converted into cryptocurrencies, and they can be used to raise fund by startup firms. Yes, they can be, but they are regulated by SEBI in India. No, as of now, we don't have any such body to regulate this. Correct answer is C. Question number 71. Black box trading in securities market refer to financial investment activities by shadow banks, high frequency trading using computer algorithms, trade practices on dark web, trading in legal. No. Black box trading is high frequency trading using computer algorithms. So by using computer programming, when huge volumes are traded in securities, so we call that black box trading. So black box model, is a financial model, is used to describe a computer program designed to transform various data into useful investment strategies. 72. Consider the following statements with respect to Indian security market. A, let's say not A, it's 1 here. Book building is a practice related to follow in public offering. Yes. Private placement refers to offering shares directly to financial institutions. No. Which of them are true? No, I think book building is a practice related to follow on public offering. No, it is basically before public offering, underwriter. So this is, I'm sorry, this is incorrect. Private placement refers to offering shares directly to financial institutions. Yes. Yes, book building is the process by which an underwriter attempts to determine the price at which IPO will be offered. Question number 73. AIFs, that is alternative investment funds, as defined in the securities SEBI regulations 2000, mainly in investment lane, startups and SMEs, private fund equities, government securities. No, this part is not in government securities. Correct answer is C. Yes, again you can see this part and note it down. Moving on, question number 74. Consider the following statements about derivatives in Indian market. Derivatives means an agreement that does not have a future value. So a derivative is a contract between two parties which derives its value from an underlying asset. So most common types of derivatives are future derivative, option, forward, swaps. So these are the types of put and call, are not the types of derivatives. Am I wrong? This is correct. Okay. Moving on, question number 76. Which of the following best describes short selling? Okay. It refers to selling 10% shares of the company. No. Refers to manipulating or shorting in the market. No. It refers to buying securities and selling them overnight. These are all different things. It refers to selling securities without owning them. Yes. So he borrows the securities and sells them without owning them. These are all short selling and everything. These are all, what to call, practices which are, there in the securities market. Moving on, question number 77. Consider this following statements about multi-commodity exchange of India. Which of the following are true? Okay. It does not offer trading in commodities future contract. It operates under the purview of SEBI. SEBI. So this is Securities and Exchange Board of India, and this is true. But it does not offer trading in future contracts. It do offer that. Yes, it is basically, futures market or futures contract across So bullion, metals, agriculture, commodities, commodity exchange. So this is all future contracts thing which is going on here. Question number 78. Consider the following statements about depreciation and devaluation. Depreciation occurs when a country makes a conscious decision to lower its exchange rate. Okay, devaluation. So in both the statements, the definitions are exchanged. So this is basically depreciation and this is devaluation. Correct answer is D. Question number 79 on participatory notes. With reference to participatory notes or P-notes in the Indian context, consider the following statements. Number one, it is a derivative instrument issued in India by a listed company against underlying Indian securities. Second, the investor in participatory notes derive the economic benefits of investing in security without actually owning it. Second is correct, yes. But it is a derivative instrument used in foreign. So this part is different. It is foreign jurisdiction and by a SEBI registered FII, that is foreign institutional investor. So this is correct. This is incorrect. This is, I think, so correct answer is B. Moving on, question number 80. Consider the following statements about spot exchange. It facilitates the sale and purchase of commodity, including bullion. Okay. It allows for anonymity between buyers and sellers, which of the statements are true. It's spot exchange, you know, both are correct. In India, spot exchanges refer to electronic trading platform which facilitate purchase and sale of specified commodity, including agriculture commodities, metals, bullions, by providing spot delivery contracts in these commodities. And anonymity ensures the convergence of different price perception, as the buyer and seller merely express their desire to trade, without even meeting directly. So both are correct. Question number 81. Which of the following forms a part of the capital account of India? Remittances received by NRIs? No. Loan given to a third world country? Foreign exchange earned? This is also not a part of. Correct answers. Capital account. So yes, two only. Because issues of external bond, long-term investment by foreign residents form the part of capital account. Trade of any sort, interest payment, remittances, these kinds form the part of current account. So the question was on capital account. Means, see, anything which will create capital will include in this, which increases your asset. So that can be included in this. Question number 82. Consider the following statements about ECB, external commercial borrowings. It can be raised only for a specific purpose. Yes. Minimum average maturity should be 5 years. No, this is 3 years. So this is correct. This is incorrect. Which of the following statements are true? Only one is true. Question number 83. Which of the following statements, consider the following statements about import substitution. Government protects the domestic industries from foreign competition. Yes. Export are discouraged since they reduce domestic consumption and thus production. No. No, exports are not. When we are talking about import substitution, means we are just concentrating to reduce import rather to and so-called what we call as Atmanirbhar. So we try to produce it ourselves rather than importing it. There is no such impact on export. So this is correct. Question number 84. Which of the following forms part of capital account? NRI deposits, external commercial borrowings, FDI. So these are not remittances, these are deposits. So yes, capital account, external commercial borrowings, FDI, all of them. Question number 85. Consider the following statements about IDR. It is a financial instrument denominated in foreign currency issued by an Indian depository. Okay. The receipts raised in American market by Indian companies are called Indian depository receipts. Which of the following statements are true? A depository, first of all, understand what is a depository receipt. It is a negotiable instrument used by a company in foreign jurisdiction. So issued foreign currency by Indian depository. So it is not a no. To represent certain they represent certain securities like bonds, shares, etc. DR is an important mechanism for raising funds by tapping foreign investors may not participate in the domestic market. Fine. So depending upon the location, they are called ADR, IDR, whatever. And which of the following statements are true? Both, neither one nor true. Financial instrument denominated in foreign currency. By Indian depository? No, it is issued by a company. Okay, so this is what depository receipt is. Question number 86 about QIP, that is Qualified Institutional Placement. It allows an Indian listed company to raise capital from domestic market. Firm must be listed in a stock exchange. Yes, both are true. So your correct answer is C. Question number 87, SSM under WTO relates to MFN treatment. No. WTO's financial assistance to farmers, that is not linked to prices or production. No. Licensing companies. So whenever this SSM is basically safeguarding the developing countries to raise, because the biggest tussle in WTO is between the developed and the developing countries, and India is always the flag bearer and one of the major, uh, you know, what to call leader or leader of the developing countries, because the developed countries, on one hand, actually they have achieved a lot, and when it comes to uh, developing countries, they found them that these developing countries are like markets, so we want to dump it. So special safeguard mechanisms here in WTO relates to this develop and developing countries. So this is for developing countries to raise tariffs, so to deal with import surges and price falls. Yes. Moving on, question number 88. Mutual agreement procedure was recently in news, which was referring to tariff barrier, double taxation, defense deal, climate change. It is an alternative available to the taxpayer. This to resolve disputes raising to double taxation. So this is something which is related to that. Question number 89. For imported and exported goods, which of these authorities determine that rate of exchange conversion of Canadian dollars? Okay, just an exceptional question out here, where in general, when we talk about exchange of authority which exchange it determines the exchange rate and conversion and everything, it is in general RBI, but there are certain exceptions to this, like Canadian dollar is there, where CBEC is involved, Central Board of Excise and Customs. So you can look at this part and you'll get answer to this. Question number 90. Consider the following statements. In FTAs, free trade agreements, parties abolish tariffs on all goods and services. PTAs, that is preferential trade agreements, are the first level of economic integration. So, if we talk about FTAs, uh, tariffs are not abolished on all goods and services. Rather, there is a list of goods on which this FTAs means this trades are abolished. So, this is not all, but on few. So this cannot be done. And preferential level is PTA is the first level of economic integration. Then there is customs union. Then there is integrated market. Then they have common currency. So this is a whole level, different level of economic integration, and PTA is first of that. So only two is correct. Question number 91. Consider the following statements about rule of origin. They help to implement anti-dumping duties and safeguards measures with regards to certain products. They are determined by value addition or local content requirement. Which of the following statements are true? So, rules of origin are the criteria needed to determine the national source of a product. Their importance is derived from the fact that duties and restrictions in several cases depend on source of imports. So, for example, why they are used to implement measures and instruments of commercial policy such as anti-dumping duties and safeguard measures to determine whether imported products shall receive MFN status or not. Trade statistics is there, government procurement is there. So this is why this rule of origin, and yes, by value addition and what they are doing, what is their value addition or what is their local content requirement. So depending on this, this rule of origin is there. So both the statements here are correct. Question number 92, a very conceptual question, and which of the following is false about Phillips curve? It shows relationship between rate of inflation and employment. Yes. The relationship is positive. No, the relationship is negative. At a high rate of inflation, employment is low. This is correct. So obviously high and low. So this is going to be a negative relationship. So the correct answer, rather incorrect statement is false statement is B. Then core and headline inflation. Number one, while core inflation excludes food and fuel prices, headline inflation includes them. Yes. Core inflation is relatively more volatile and fluctuating than headline inflation. No, this is not the case. It is exactly opposite. So this is not correct. What that says? Which of the following are true? Only one. Question number 94. Which of the following is an appropriate description of disinflation? So basically disinflation is inflation increasing with a decreasing rate. Let's say no. So it's a kind of a sudden, no, not, but it's a kind of a slow in the rate of increase of the general price level. So inflation means inflation is increasing. Let's say it's like this. In general, let's say this is inflation. Rather, it's not going like this. It's going like this. So increasing, like it is in both the case, like it's increasing here, it's increasing here, means it is not increasing like proportionately, rather increasing with a decreasing rate on a very technical term. So moving on from here to question number 95. Consider the following with respect to inflation. It decreases the purchasing power capacity of a currency. Yes. It benefits both bond holders and debtors. No, it is not going to help them. It is not going to benefit them. Because they are going to gain from inflation, not they are not in loss. So this is true, this is incorrect, so only one is correct. Question number 96. Deficit financing by the government can lead to rise in inflation. Yes. Decrease in public debt. No. Increase in money supply. Yes, they will borrow from something, and when they're financing money supply, may increase. Improvement in current account deficit. No. So it's a very straightforward question. 97. Which of the following are the effects of inflation in the economy? Purchasing power of the people get reduced. Yes. Investment may be boosted as a result of short-run effect of inflation. Yes. And this, technically this is very slow, very, short-lived in nature. But yes, investment may be boosted as a result of short-run effect of inflation. Producers' profit will increase. Yes. So when investment may be boosted, so in, it, yes, all of these are the effects of inflation in the economy. What is inflation tax? So when inflation, because of inflation, there is deficit financing. When there is deficit financing, people's income will be shredded down, ultimately acting as a tax. So what is we call this as? And so when there will be deficit financing, let's say there will be more taxation. More taxation. The reason is inflation. So we call that inflation tax. Correct answer here is C. Question number 99. Assertion reason. Hyperinflation can lead to a loss of confidence in the currency. Inflation erodes the value of the currency. Yes, because again, use the because here and you will find this. Hyperinflation can lead to a loss of confidence in the currency because inflation erodes the value of currency. So this seems to be more logical, the whole statement altogether. So I think this is the correct answer. Yes. Coming to the last question, question number 100. An inflationary gap signals that economy is in which part of the trade cycle? Boom, recession, depression, recovery. So when we say inflationary gap, means it is the difference between the real GDP and the GDP, where the potential GDP means the GDP at which the point at which GDP would have been if it is all the resources are employed completely. So and when we are saying that this is an inflationary gap, obviously this is the current real GDP is on a higher side than the potential GDP, and this represents this. So that is higher means it is going through a boom phase. So this is it. I hope you have scored it well, and the you know if not, need to work hard, analyze your mistakes, find out where you actually would have done better. Like there must have been some questions where you know the answer, but because of options and close options and a long statements, this is the case with economy. You have lost it. So No need to, if you're, if most of your questions are wrong, don't get disheartened. Work hard, you can do better. If all of your if your questions are maximum correct, minimum incorrect, then don't be overconfident. You have to work harder in order to maintain your present performance. So this is it from my side. Have a great time at home. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much.